We are picking up where we left off. Welcome to Bedtime Stories with CrispySkates. And we are reading The Wind in the Willows by Kenneth Grahame. And we are on page 69. All right, let's get comfortable. Everybody get settled. Okay. We others who have long lost the more subtle physical senses have not even proper terms to express an animal's internal communications with his surroundings, living or otherwise, and having only the word smell, for an instance, to include the whole range of delicate thrills which murmur in the nose of the animal night and day, summoning, warning, enticing, repelling. It was one of these mysterious fairy calls from out of the void that suddenly reached Mole in the darkness, making him tingle through it with its very familiar appeal. Even while yet he could not clearly remember what it was. He stopped dead in his tracks, his nose searching hither and thither in its efforts to recapture the fine filament, the telegraphic current that was so strongly moving toward him. A moment and he had caught it again, and with it this time came a recollection of the fullest flood. Home, that was it. That was the way they met. Those caressing appeals, those soft touches wafted through the air, those invisible little hands pulling and tugging all the way. Why, it must be quite close by at the moment his old home that he had hurriedly forsaken and never sought again, that day when he first found the river. And now it was sending out its scouts and its messengers to capture him and bring him in. Since his escape on the bright morning, he had hardly even thought of it, so absorbed that he had been in his new life and all of its pleasures and surprises, its fresh, captivating experiences. Now, oh, hi, welcome. Now, with a rush of old memories, how clearly it stood up before him in the darkness, shabby indeed, and small, poorly furnished, and yet the home he had made for himself, the home he had been so happy to get back. After his day's work, and the home had been happy with him too, evidently, and was missing him and wanted him back and was telling him so through his nose, sorrowfully reapproaching, but with no bitterness or anger, only with plaintive reminder that it was there and it wanted him. They called this clear, the summons was plain. He must obey it instantly and go. Ratty, he called, full of joy and excitement. Hold on. Come back. I want you quick. Oh, come along, Mole. Do come along, replied the rat cheerfully. still plodding along. Please stop, Ratty, pleaded the mole in an anguished heart. You don't understand. It's my home, my old home. I've just come across the smell of it, and it's close by here, really quite close. And I must go to it. I must, I must. Oh, come back, Ratty. Please come back. The rat was by this time very, very far. Too far to hear clearly what the mole was calling to. Too far to catch the sharp note of a painful appeal in his voice. And he was much taken up with the weather, for he too could smell something surprisingly close, approaching snow. Mole, we mustn't stop now, really, he called back. We'll come for it tomorrow, whatever it is that you found. But I daren't stop now. It's late and the snow's coming on again, and I'm not sure of the way. And I want your nose, Mole, so come on quick. There's a good fellow. And the rat pressed forward with his head on his way without waiting for an answer. Poor Mole stood alone in the road, and his heart torn asunder, and the big sob gathering somewhere low down inside him. To leap up to the surface presently he knew in passionate escape. But even under the test, as this loyalty to his friend stood firm, never for a moment did he dream of abandoning him. Meanwhile, the wafts of his old home pleaded, whispered, conjured, and finally claimed imperiously. He dared not tarry longer within the magical circle. With a wrench that tore his very little heartstrings, he set his face down to the road and followed submissively in the track of the rat, while the faint little smells still dodging and retreating his nose, reproached him for his new friendship with his callous forgetfulness. With an effort, he caught up to the unsuspecting rat, who began chattering cheerfully about what they would do when they got back, and how joy of fire and logs of the parlor would be, and supper, and what he meant to eat, never noticing his companion's silence and distressful state of mind. At last, when they had gone some considerable way further and were passing some tree stumps on the edge of the core that bordered up the road, he stopped and said kindly, Look here, Mole, old chap, you seem dead tired. Now talk left in you, and your feet dragging like they're dead. Well, sit down here for a minute and rest. The snow has held off so far, and the best part of our journey is over. The mole subsided formally, and the tree stumpman tried to control himself, and he felt surely coming. The sob that had fought with so long and refused to be beaten. And up it was to weigh in the air, and then another and another, and the others thick and fast, till poor Mole at last gave up the struggle and cried freely and helplessly and openly, and now knew it was all over, and he had lost what he could hardly be said to have found. The rat, astonished and dismayed at the violence of the mole's paroxysm of grief, he did not dare speak for a while. Said very quietly and sympathetically, "What is it, old fellow? Whatever can be the matter? Tell us your trouble and let me see what I can do." Poor Mole, Poor Mole found it difficult for the words out between the upheavals of his chest that followed one upon another so quickly, and held back speech and choked it as it came. "I know it's a shabby, dingy little place," he sobbed forth at last brokenly. "Not like your cozy quarters, or Toad's beautiful hall, or Badger's great house, but it was my own little home, and I was fond of it, and I went away and forgot all about it. And then the smell, I smelt it in suddenly on the road, and when I called to you, wouldn't listen, Rat, and everything came back to me with a rush, and I wanted it. Oh dear, and when you wouldn't turn back, Ratty, I had to leave it. Though I was smelling it all the time, I thought in my heart would break. I thought I have just gone and had one look at it. Ratty, only one look. It was close by, but you wouldn't turn back, Ratty. You wouldn't turn back. Oh dear, oh dear. Recollection brought fresh waves of sorrow, and sobs again took full charge of him, preventing further speech. The rat stared straight in front of him, saying nothing, only patting Mole gently on the shoulder. After a time, he muttered gloomily, "I see it all now. What a pig I've been. A pig. That's me. Just a pig. A plain pig." He waited till Mole's sobs gradually less stormy and more rhythmically, and he waited till at last sniffs were frequent and sobs only intermittent. Then he rose from, "Aw, thanks for your hearts." Then he rose from his seat and remarking carelessly, "Well, now we'd rather be better getting on, old chap." Set off up old again the road and the toilsome way, and they had come. "Wherever you are, hic going to hic, Ratty," cried the tearful Mole, looking up in alarm. "Hello, thank you so much for being here." "Going on to find that home of yours, old fellow," replied the rat pleasantly. "So you had better come along, for it will take some finding, and we shall want your nose." "Oh, come back, Ratty, do," cried Mole, getting up, hurrying after him. "It's no good, I tell you. It's too late and too dark, and the place is too far off, and the snow is coming, and I never meant to let you know I was feeling that way about it. It was all an accident and a mistake. And think of the river bank and your supper." "Aw, thank you, Ugly Crab. Love you too." "You're really kind. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it." "Thank you so much. We're going to keep reading. I really appreciate you." Still sniffing, pleading, and reluctant, Mole suffered himself to be dragged back along the road by his imperious companion, who by a flow of cheerful talk and anecdote endeavored to beguile his spirits back and make the weary seem shorter. When at last it seemed to the rat that they must be nearing that part of the road where the mole had been held up, he said, "Now, more like talking business. Use your nose and give it your mind." They moved on in silence for some time, when suddenly the rat was conscious. Through his arm that was linked in the mole's faint sort of electric thrill was passing down an animal's body. Instantly, oops, instantly disengaged himself, fell back a pace, and waited all attention. The signals were coming through. Aw, you're so sweet. Thank you so much, Oakley Craft. You're the best. I appreciate it. All right, you guys, I've got a sleeper. Oakley Craft, come to one of my lives tomorrow. I appreciate you and thank you so much. I hope you guys have a wonderful night. And thanks for all the likes. I really, really appreciate it. Keep it crispy, you guys. Good night. That's very sweet of you. You made my night.